In a world within our world, they've created a world unlike any other world.
Dungeons and Dragons. And a game like D&D fuels their imagination and makes them feel special.
The ogre is amused by your joke and allows you to pass.
Dad, I'm just curious. What is it about Dungeons and Dragons that suddenly leapt out at you at age 60?
Dungeons, it'd be the dungeons.
Just what I love about role-playing games is being told exactly what to do.
Me too. You should introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. You are listening to 93.3 CFRU Guelph Community Radio. My name is Mike the Birdman Ashkowe, and you are listening to The Spellbook, the show that is dedicated to the tabletop role-playing game hobby that recently took over the University of Guelph this last weekend. But I'm not alone as I trek through the hallowed halls, Peter Clark Hall, that is, at the bottom of the University Center. I'm joined in studio, holy crap, with...
Hi, I am Damien, Magical Hack Morphit.
And, yeah, guys, we are back from Gryphcon. 3 days of gaming that was, honestly, some of the most fun I have had in a really, really long time. So, to let you guys know, Gryphcon is a convention that happens each and every year at the University of Guelph. It has gone on for a number of years. Like, I want to say Gryphcon has been around longer than 10 years. I think they've been around at least 1988 is the year that I believe this was founded. It was a April Fool's thing. It began in Creelman Hall, which, by the way, me and Damien went for lunch and breakfast every day during this convention. I can't wait to be a student here. Oh my god. The Calzone, chef's kiss. But anyway, so originally, this happened back in 1988, and that was the first Gryphcon. So it was a board game and strategy kind of collaboration between the Guelph Adult Gaming Association and the University of Guelph Games Club. Since then, it's moved out of Creelman Hall into the UC, and now we've had board games there. There's been LARPs before. You played in a game where you were a nuclear strategist. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, that was a great time.
Battletech was there. We have a pretty recognized Catan tournament, from what I understand. We even have indie developers show up. And I've had some developers from some other major properties show up there as well. So this year, for example, this is one of many gaming conventions that I have attended. But Damien, you and I went on our first date.
I know.
Do I not take you to the nicest places?
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like this weekend, like I've been to conventions before. A couple of years ago, I was at
Forest City Comic Con or something like that?
Yeah, well, last year I was at Forest City Comic Con because it's like right down the street from me, basically. Few years ago, I went to the first Gamescom Canada that was held out in Calgary. That was a great time. That one's more of like minis and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So like you're looking at stuff for like
Warhammer sort of
Warhammer. There were actually a few indie developers there at the time and whatnot. Battletech was there. Got to play some of that. That was a fun time. But Gryphcon was actually my first TTRPG convention. And it was the first time I actually played in a convention game.
Yeah, and convention games are a little bit different. So for those of you that don't know, so if you've been listening to the Spellbook for any length of time, thank you for your support. But if this is your first time here, welcome. And what is a tabletop role-playing game? Well, that's your stuff like your Dungeons and Dragons, your Pathfinder, your Call of Cthulhu, Battletech / MechWarrior. It could be any number of things. And convention games are run by usually volunteer game masters, sometimes paid, and they will run a variety of different games in either a convention format, which is, the convention in this case took place from Friday to Sunday afternoon, and it may be one continuous adventure, and you show up from Friday night at 7 p.m., and you finish the game Sunday at 4. But it's one continuous session, and everybody goes home at the end of the day. Or, alternatively, which is what you experienced with me, is a game master will run one adventure, but it'll be run multiple times, which means it's kind of like choose your own adventure, but the outcomes are never the same. In my case, definitely not. So I ran 3 games this weekend. I ran 2 adventures of Star Trek Adventures, 2nd edition, to which I'm one of the writers on the property for Modiphius. And I also ran, for the first time, with your assistance, Aliens Evolved Edition by Free League Publishing. And this was a fantastic experience for me. So when you started playing convention games, I guess, well, you and I have been around the hobby for quite some time.
Yep.
And you and I have you've GM'd me.
Mm-hmm.
But you have never been GM'd by me. And you had a chance to experience that twice this weekend, both in sci-fi properties that I'm a huge fan of, Star Trek and Aliens. I guess my first question is to you, what was it like being GM'd by me? Because like I said, you and I have played together twice now, but we've never had or I guess a couple times, because we played Call of Cthulhu and we played Vampire and all that crap. What was it like being GM by me? Because like I said, you know me, but you don't know me.
It's a different experience. Your style of GMing, when you just kind of say, you know what, I'm gonna wing it. It flows rather well. You tend to, without using the term, yes and a lot.
Yeah.
Which, that's something that I myself like to do, honestly. If it's something that makes sense in the fiction, if it's something that isn't going to be, like, too broken,
it just happens.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
Yeah, because, like, one of the things, when you're doing a convention game, for example, you can't get so bogged down in the rules that the narrative stops. And with a convention, you have someone's attention typically between 1 hour at the short end of the stick, which may be showing someone how to play a game and getting them familiar with the rule system or whatever, or you may have them from as long as 6 hours. But that momentum can't stop. And you're also responsible for so many people around the table. And if this is their first time with an RPG, you really have to be careful, right? Like, you don't want to turn them off. And I really have to send a shout out. So, like I said, I ran 3 games this weekend. And I had a gentleman correct me on how to run Star Trek. He's like, wait a second, this doesn't sound right. Because I've never run Star Trek in person. I've only run it online. So without having the tools that I'm used to having at my fingertips with my computers and Discord, which has a wonderful Star Trek bot, by the way. A big thanks to my group Calvin for putting that together for us. I was like, okay, gotta figure this out. Crap. But it ran surprisingly well. And I'm glad that you noticed that. Like, I'm always like, yes and. Because I want things to be engaging. I want things to be exciting. And you and I had this private discussion last night, off mic, talking about when mechanics get in the way of narrative. And this may be a future topic for us to kind of go a little bit more in depth, but we've been buried in dice for the last few days, so maybe give us a few weeks to recover. And yeah, like, if you slow things up, I think it can really hang things up. Because I don't know if you noticed this yesterday, as of this recording. Notice how I was watching the table very, very closely. I'm engaging with everybody. I'm seeing what the body language says. If someone looks bored, something happens.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to engage you. I'm going to engage you. I'm going to engage you. And there's this one gentleman yesterday in the game you were playing in, our Lieutenant Commander Security Officer, one of our Trill, I couldn't really read, and this is by no fault of this guy's expression. I was like, I hope I'm not boring you. And I kind of wonder if maybe he was just a little bit nervous, but...
Probably.
But when he got into it, he was really into it. And what surprised me, in the most rewarding way, and I wish I got this gentleman's name. I don't remember. I'm terrible with names. I'm good at faces, bad with names. So if you ever commit a crime against me, just do it anonymously, and you're fine.
Wear a mask.
Yeah, exactly. Wear a mask. I have like face blindness, or like bird blindness. If this was like Peacemaker. Anyway, so anyway, this guy had said to me, that was some of the best role playing I've ever had. That was immersive. That was fun. That was exciting, and he got really, really animated. And it was like, oh my god, really, dude? And I was just so tickled by this. I was like, wow, thank you, man. Like that means so much. And then another guy who I think he said he was like a science major of some type.
Yeah.
And
the B guy.
And he was using background knowledge from his real life, because like this is Star Trek, and I openly said to them, okay, you need to out BS me. If you can out techno babble the writer from Trek, it's going to happen. And I guess he had some kind of an interest in entomology in real life, or maybe he was like a bee scientist, because Guelph is known for that. And he kept throwing, he's like, oh yeah, this is a Sarcadian bog flea, and its colony reproduces. And I'm thinking, that's awesome, keep going, just BS me, I don't care. And it was so good. And then one of the other people at the table, this other young woman, she was our science officer, another Trill.
Oh yeah.
She was a lot of fun. So I'm like, okay. And I felt maybe like the energy was nervous there too. But she had the most amazing dice tray. Like,
oh yeah, that was awesome.
And I'm like, okay, Trill, Lieutenant Commander finger in the socket. I want you, tell me what's going on. And our captain, who was a Cardassian in charge of a Defiant class ship, is trying to convince her not to do something, in his opinion, very foolish. But if it wasn't for that foolish action, we may not have gotten to where we were.
Yeah.
And it was me laying just enough landmines in the narrative. I'm thinking, all right, Damien, you are my primary audience today. I'm going to give you a show. Welcome to the Dog and Pony Show today.
See, that was a fun game, because throughout that whole time, I'm like, I have a plan. And then something will happen, and I'm like, oh, hey.
That's not going to
plan has changed. That plan A has now become plan B. I'm going to try this. And yeah, like, the bridge crew of the Defiant was Cardassian, Betazoid, which was myself.
Yep, and two Trills.
And two Trills.
Joined Trills, which after the Dominion War, that's kind of a quantity you don't want to lose.
Yeah. And we very nearly did.
Yeah, it was, it got complicated. There was, dare I say, in the closing moments, heightened emotion. People on that table were engaged, which is something you're going to do, because you're going to be listening here to the Spellbook right here on 93.3 CFRU. This is the Spellbook. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about our experiences at Gryphcon. My name is Mike the Birdman. That is Damien Magical Hack Morphid. And this is a break.
Put your finger on the groove with Planet Groove every Friday between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. for some soul-stirring funk, rock, blues, metal, and more with your funky blues doctor on the dial at CFRU 93.3 FM.
Welcome back to 93.3 CFRU Guelph Community Radio.
And this is the Spellbook. So, over the course of the next 45 minutes, we're going to be talking about Gryphcon. Like I said, this is the annual tabletop board game and strategy game convention that happens at the University of Guelph. And yeah, so me and Damien were just talking about running Star Trek adventures together. And it's cool because when you go to conventions, like some of the conventions I've been to have been MagFest, which takes place in Maryland in the United States. I've been to PAX East a number of times. I haven't gone to PAX Unplugged. That's sort of like the next place that I want to go, but we'll have to see what happens with that in the future. I guess. Well, we'll see what happens with travel in the next ever. Beyond that. And yeah, but I haven't actually participated as a player before, and which is weird to say. Actually, no, wait, maybe I did once, but I don't remember it very well. So by doing this, one of the cool things about going to conventions is you get a chance to have the Costco experience. What does Mike mean by this? Well, if you have a Costco membership, in this case, buying a 3-day pass, you get to sample different things, often for free. So, for example, I want you to tell me, so Friday night, I'm running Star Trek Adventures. I thought I was going to be down a player. Fortunately, everybody showed up at my table. You had made a character just in case, but you had sauntered over. I'm sorry, I don't get to use that phrase very often. I'm just going to.
It is a great phrase.
So you sauntered over to this other game, and I hope that we're going to talk with these people on the show in the near future. Please tell me about this.
Oh yes, so Supremacy. It is, I think the best way to put it, the love child between Risk, Axis and Allies, and nuclear warfare. So you play one of the world powers. There are a grand total of 6 that you can choose from like Russia, Europe. You could be Japan, which is apparently a really hard start. You get one island.
Okay.
Your 4 main cities on one island. That's where you start.
Do you have like strong economic powers, or how does the
No. Okay, so the economy is random.
Okay.
At the beginning of the game, like there are economy cards that are essentially companies that produce minerals, oil, and grain. Minerals feed your war machine. Oil feeds your vehicles. That's how you move around the map. Grain feeds your peoples.
Okay.
If you don't have any grain, you start losing army. If you don't have any oil, obviously you can't move. If you don't have any minerals, you can't shoot. And it also means you can't create anything either. And like, there's also like ICBM and anti-ballistic missile cards, so like you can do research to try and get more resources, or to be able to get the ability to fire off various flavors of nukes. I, being the individual that I am,
the blonde-haired Chaos Goblin, yes.
I decided to pick Russia mainly because it actually had a pretty good start with the random companies that were on the table. Like, I got a little bit of each. One of them was in my own territory, so it couldn't really easily be taken from me. It was fun times. And I basically, with the weakest actual army and a so-so economy, like, I think the biggest thing that I was able to produce throughout the whole game was grain. Which kind of makes sense.
But so, yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty on point for Russia in real life.
So, like, there were a few times during the game, and, like, you could sell resources as well. And, like, to the world. And if you did, the stock price for that would go down. So, like, if we were playing, and during the trading phase, I decided, you know what, I'm going to sell 10 grain. That's going to drop the cost of grain by 5 points. So it would go from like 600 billion down 100 billion.
Yeah.
Which means if you need to buy grain, it's great for you.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're sitting on a surplus and you need money, you're selling for 100 billion each, and you're not getting anywhere near as much as you would have if you would have traded first.
Yeah, you're basically selling at a loss at that point.
So, like, it's kind of a balance between, your war machine and your economy. And there's a little bit of nuclear posturing in there, too.
Yeah, because you had come up to the table. We were in, like, a bio break at our table. And I looked over at your table, and there's all these little things everywhere. And you had this smirk on your face where definitely you should not be the one holding the nuclear football.
No.
And so you're like, hey, Mike, I think I just took over the world. What? So explain to me how you ended up as a stand-in for Big Boss from Metal Gear.
Okay, so it was actually kind of funny. So we're playing, and the guy who's demoing the game is like, you know what? I'm going to research nukes. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You do that. So he gets a nuke. Alrighty. A couple of turns later, I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling saucy. I'm going to research nukes. But, I think it was $1 trillion of my economy later. I have a nuke in front of me on one of my territories. Few turns later, things are getting a little spicy. Something happened with... Oh, yeah. Few turns later, the guy who's demoing the game decides to put some troops on Romania. I'm like, okay, fine. You want to do that? I decide to turn Romania into a nuclear crater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like, well, okay, so it was less they decided...
Or Roma.
Yeah, well, it was less that they had decided to put troops there. It's just the way it turned out, there ended up being some troops there, and they controlled a company there.
Oh.
So I'm like, no, this is not cool. There's something wrong with Romania. They're being too aggressive. They need to go. And went they did.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, and then as it evolved, I'm like, you know what? I want nuclear bombers.
Okay.
That's actually something new that they're adding to the game.
Yeah.
So nukes.
What is the game called, by the way?
Supremacy.
Okay.
It's an old game from like the 80s that actually it was on
Kickstarter or something?
Yeah, it was remade back in 2020. They did a successful Kickstarter, and I'm pretty sure you can buy it from their website.
Okay.
I suggest people do. They're not paying me to say this. I just had a lot of fun playing the game.
Yeah, we're actually going to be reaching out to these guys in the future. So Damien is one who does all the episode posts on here, so he'll make sure to include a link in the show notes.
Yep. But yeah, so like grab some bombers, which they're harder to shoot down with the ABM thing. Like normally with the anti-ballistic missile, it's like a 2 through 6, it shoots it down.
Mm-hmm.
With the bombers, it's 4 to 6, so you only have a 50% chance of losing your missile, your bomb.
Okay.
There's a third type of nuke, submarine based.
Oh.
Yeah, I ended up with nuclear subs too.
That's insane.
And those are actually even harder to hit because like that's on a 5 or a 6. And
so you got like a 25% chance to hit it.
Yeah,
give or take.
36? No. 33.
Okay.
Yeah, 33 and change. And yeah, so like I ended up by the end of the game, like I unfortunately did not win. At the end of the game, my aim was to cause nuclear winter.
Okay.
So there's a mechanic in this game that if 12 territories are nuked,
mm-hmm.
there's
Game
12.
over.
Yeah, Game over for everyone. Nobody wins. It is nuclear winter. Welcome to Fallout.
How many territories were nuked in this game so far? Because I know Romania became
11.
Oh wow, that was close.
One more nuke. If one more of my nukes would have gotten through.
Wow, you literally were creating Fallout. You are like literally the Red Menace from Fallout.
Very well. I was closer to the portrayal of the U.S. in Fallout because they're the ones who dropped nukes first. But
see, in the lore, that's contestants. But you basically had Liberty Prime and just going after territories.
Actually, I think they've expanded on that within after 76.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, and
the
like
Enclave and Vault-Tec?
It was either the it's not 100% clear. It's either the Enclave or the computer, the AI that you meet in 4?
The Institute?
No, not the Institute. The supercomputer that you meet when you're doing, I think it's the submarine mission where there's the Chinese
guy.
Yeah. So there's that computer that controls like the US's nuclear launch capabilities.
Right.
Yeah, so
I forgot about that mission.
I'm like 90% sure. Now it doesn't really go too clear in the lore, and I know we're going into the weeds here, but it's Fallout and it's tangentially related, so whatever. I'm like 90% sure that it was a malfunction of that computer.
Mm-hmm.
It basically got real life confused with war games and is like, fires the missiles.
Oh man, see, this game sounds really fun, and I don't get a chance to play many board games. And the reason that is, it's gonna sound so weird and it's so hyper niche to me. It's accessibility with me, just because I'm a big guy, but I also sit in a wheelchair and I'm high up. So for me to reach across a table, it's really, really difficult, surprisingly. But I did find this weekend with a lot of the Gryphcon staff, and especially every player at each and every one of my tables, was so supportive. Like, if I needed, like, hey, can you hand me that? Show me this, show me that. Everyone was super, super cool. So I'm glad you had a really fun time with Supremacy. Like I said, that sounds like a lot of fun. I did see other really cool vendors there that were showing off other things. One of the things I'm just going to mention before I go off to our next break here is my sister-in-law, Kara. She's a very cool woman. I love her. She's also scary as crap. If I'm ever afraid of one woman on Earth, it's her. But she has a vulnerability. She has a weakness to Fraggles and Muppets. And there was a vendor this weekend. I think it was something like Granny's Creations or something like that. My wife found this before I did. My wife, Blair. And she's like, Mike, I want you to go grab something for my sister. And I got her these really awesome earrings that were like Wembley and Gobo and I think Dozer from the Fraggles and the Muppets, which was really, really cool. There was another person, I think they were called Whimsical Squid. I'm sorry if I'm getting some of your names wrong. But I bought a pet rock with a wizard hat. Now, the wizard hat is important because I brought it home and immediately put it on my orange cat Beaker. He hated his life. But he's like, but I look stupid, Daddy. I'm like, yeah, but you're so cute.
It's okay, Beaker. I feel you. I hate wearing hats, too.
So we got a lot more to talk about right here on CFRU 93.3 Guelph Community Radio. My name is Mike the Birdman Ashby. That is Damien Magical Hat Morphit. We will be back, guys, right after this to tell you more about our adventures at Gryphcon, along with a fantastic RPG vendor that should be illegal because I could have blown like $5,000-$6,000. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to CFRU 93.3 FM.
So this is love. No, I've never been so sad.
Welcome back to the Spellbook right here on 93.3 CFRU Guelph Community Radio. The Birdman and I are sitting down talking about our experiences at Gryphcon.
So this weekend, I had a chance to run, like I said, I was running 3 games this weekend. On the Friday night, I was running Star Trek Adventures in the big Peter Clark Hall room, which is this gigantic room. I can fit like 900 people. I've done some presentations in there before. And normally vendors are set up out in the hallway of Peter Clark Hall. I'm really glad they decided to bring the vendors into the room. Some of the vendors there I've already talked about, such as, I think, Whimsical Squid, Granny's Creations, I want to say. And if I'm getting some of these names wrong, I apologize now, but I'm pretty sure you can still go to the Gryphcon website and get some information. So, but the guy that I remember was a gentleman named Corey. He is a gentleman who brought literally the room of requirement with him. What do I mean by that? Well, he runs a store called Dusty Dice. He had everything. Mike, what do you mean everything? Every single RPG book I could ever want. And I remember looking at my players. I'm thinking, look, man, you got to do me a favor. Like, what? Why? We barely know you. I know, but please. We're going to be holding each other close by the end of this. Don't let me spend money here. What are you talking about? I turn around. I see Star Trek box sets that I'm missing. I was like, you get the idea. I saw World of Darkness books I was missing. And then I call you over. Like, yo, Damien, you got to see this. And you're like, oh, God.
It made me glad that...
It made me words I can't say on air.
Yeah. It like I said, it made me glad that I came with a limited amount of funds because I would be leaving with no money. They had so many books that I wanted, and I know I don't have the space for them.
Yeah, like, now, his prices, I felt were retail, but very fair. Like, some books, like, I saw a copy of a Firefly book there. I used to own this game. And I must have paid maybe $30. I think I sold it for about the same. So I'm stupid. When I saw how much I could have got for it, I was like, what? I saw games I didn't even know existed. I seem to remember there was a James Bond game back in the days of TSR, maybe whatever, because I know there was like the Top Secret board game. Yeah, he had, I think, almost the entire line.
Oh, nice.
I was like, what? He had, this made me so sad, but he had all these AD&D 2nd edition Ravenloft books. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I missing? And when I looked at my collection compared to his, I'm missing a lot. That I was like, crap. Okay, how much money do I have on my credit card? And literally, it's almost like the second I thought that, I could hear my wife from across town going, no, you're not! And it was like, But I did call Blair. I'm like, look, man, you got to go through my stuff on the floor. You got to tell me what I'm missing. Because I need to know now, because I've got this guy on the hook. So I'm chatting with Corey, and I'm like, okay, I have a box set, but I'm missing one of the booklets. Do you have it? And in the back of my head, Devil on left shoulder, Angel on the right. If he has it, I'll buy it. I'm just going to complete it, and then I'm going to walk away. If he has it, I'm going to complete it, and then I'm going to walk away. Corey, do you have this book? No, I don't, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, okay, cool. Thank you, creator. I'm not going to blow up a crap ton of money, but I know what I'm looking for is rare. Cool. That at least gives me an expectation what I'm going to spend should I choose to pursue this. But he had so many things from first edition D&D. He had like the complete box set for Greyhawk. He had Forgotten Realms stuff. He had tons of adventures. And the thing is, we got into a bit of a conversation. And we were chatting about how the industry has changed radically if you happen to purchase these as a business. And maybe you know this, I'm not 100% sure, but way back before the RPG boom really kicked off, which I think arguably was Critical Role, and people started paying attention to D&D with like Stranger Things and stuff like that, when it became part of the pop culture lexicon again. You could go and get D&D Adventures, the old ones from the 1980s and 70s, for about $10-15 a piece. Yeah. And they were usually in pretty good shape. Now, if you had some of the older books like AD&D or like D&D First Editions, you had a book called Deities and Demigods. Some of those editions had Call of Cthulhu guys in it, because that's when, from my recollection, I could very well be wrong, when Cthulhu Mythos stuff, yes, it's in the public domain, but kind of not at the same time. It's a weird thing. Now it's settled, whatever. But at the time, if you had a copy of this book, you were sitting on some serious scratch. I sold mine for a couple of $100. So, wow. But Corey had all these box sets. He had Dark Sun, which is an expansion for AD&D, which basically, think of Mad Max, but D&D. I think his was around $350 to $400. That's really good. What grabbed my attention and what forced me to like grab a hold of your shoulder, because I remember grabbing you and spinning you around. I'm like, look, that's a BattleTech box set, and it's complete and unpunched. $175.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, that almost came home with me.
Honestly, if I would have had the money, and we talked about this yesterday, I believe it was.
Yeah.
All of the World of Darkness stuff,
oh my God. I couldn't believe
would
how
have been
much stuff
coming
he had.
home with me.
Yeah, like
all of the clan books.
Yep.
I think all of the tribe books for Werewolf.
Yep, he even had the weird changing breed stuff.
Yeah.
Like the sharks and the ravens.
He also had like the okay, I know how charged this word is. It's the title of the book, the Oriental Vampire book.
Oh, right, Kindred of the East or something.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember I have a friend of mine.
I remember
Darla.
Ollie playing, like, trying to bring that into a small game he tried to run. Those were broken.
Oh yeah, well they've got all these cool abilities, but they're like, this is not compatible with the camera.
No. Not at all.
There was this guy Corey at the Dusty Dice booth. Speaking of the World of Darkness stuff, I said to him, like, okay, I'm gonna have my wife take a bunch of pictures. Little did Blair know. And I had her take pictures specifically, pardon me, of my Hunter the Reckoning, which is my second favorite book, but it's the line I think I have the most books for. So I showed these pictures to him. I'm like, hey, dude, what am I missing? And he's like, I don't think you're missing any. I think you actually have the complete line. And he's like, you actually have books I don't have, and some of the oddball ones. You're sitting on something. I was like, really? And I'm thinking, okay, first off, whew, thank God, I've got everything. But then I started looking at his werewolf stuff, his mage stuff. I saw weird stuff like Demon the Fallen, the Geist book, which is like the newer edition of Wraith, I guess, so to speak, and like the other edition. He didn't have, I don't think he had much of the newest version by Renegade Game Studios, but randomly he did have some Essence 20 stuff. I saw Transformers there. I saw Power Rangers. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I picked up for me, because like I said, I write for Star Trek, but I don't have everything Star Trek has ever done. I don't have some of the variant covers for certain books. I only do that really for like D&D stuff, but anyway. He had the first edition starter set, which I don't have. I'm missing technically 3 books, I want to say, for Star Trek.
Wow.
I'm missing the Tricorder set, which is like a new starter set that's more original series focused. And I'm missing the Board Cube, which was the limited edition, which is first edition stuff. And I'm missing the alternate cover limited edition for Discovery. Other than that, I've got everything in alt cover or regular cover. But the one thing I was looking for, it's one book. And it's a D&D 2014. So for those of you that don't know, D&D started producing books that with alternate variant art covers. The one book I'm missing is Volo's Guide to Monsters, a very common book, but the alt cover goes for about $400 to $500 US.
That's the one that has the black cover
Yes.
with the silver.
Yep.
Yeah. I have seen not
Okay, but
owned.
say,
I've
who do you
seen a PDF of that.
Yeah, that's the only book I don't have physical for D&D. Like, I even have a custom copy that Wizards made me with my name on it for Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I'll actually have to show you after the show. They went out of their way to make a copy for me.
That's sexy.
Yeah. So yeah, Volo, I'm looking for you. I'm not paying $5, but I will pay $3. So back to Gryphcon. So again, this vendor was fantastic. Also, local comic book store, Eisner Award-winning, I do believe, or Einie or any, I don't know. Either way, big cool stuff. The Dragon came up there, and I believe I saw Jen, who is the owner of the Dragon, selling a bunch of board games. And again, fantastic store. It's a place where I used to do dungeoneering. I used to run a paid game a game there for the Dragon for D&D. And yeah, it was great to see them. It's great to see a lot of local businesses come out and support people. And speaking of support, one thing I love about how the convention runs is the convention organizer that I know, Dean, and I think his wife, if you run a table, they will give your table prizing support. So you were there yesterday when this happened. I didn't get my first prize my first night because I guess everybody it was so busy. I had a chance to give out Star Trek Mega Blocks to people. And it was really cool. So Dean came by the table and he's like, hey, this is your prizing support. I'm like, what? And I completely forgot about this. And yeah, I just was able to give out these little cool prizes to players at my table. And the one guy, our Lieutenant Commander's Trill officer, ear to ear, this kid was like beaming. It was just such a thrill. And it was great. And then you and I, and this is what we're probably going to spend the last little bit of the show talking about, we played Call of Cthulhu together.
Oh, that was a great time.
And our GM was a gentleman named Richard. Wonderful guy. We played, and this was really special to me for several reasons. Number one, you and I got a chance to play together under someone we didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's, when you're friends with people, that means something. Because now you don't know what that person's going to do. You and your friend, like me and you, we're like, okay, we're both Chaos Goblins to a point, but we want to move the story forward. We want to, you and I, enough as DMs, or storytellers, whatever, we want other players at the table to get in. We want to help that keeper, that storyteller, that doormat, whatever, create an immersive experience. And you and I, we didn't even have to talk about this. We're like, okay, I'm the investigative reporter. That was my character. You were a private investigator, celebrity or something like that?
Lady PI from Montreal that was the only one in the group that came in with a gun.
Yeah, I had to get mine off a guy who sold sandwiches. And
you had to strong arm him for that.
Yeah, and then I randomly turned into John Wick. We'll get to that. But I had a chance to meet one of the players. Like, I do a paid DM service on the side called Fox's World of Adventure. And one of the players I'd met through another service, pardon me, was a woman named Laura. And I'd never met Laura face to face. She was always just a name on Discord. And meeting her face to face and putting a face to the warmth in the voice, the adventure, the person who has been a barbarian, a druid, like a sorcerer or something, or no, barbarian. Yes, he was a barbarian and a druid. Now we're coming into a new game, but it was just like, cool. I'll get to meet you. She's like, wow, it's weird to be with Mike on the other side of the table. And I guess she brought along a friend named Lily, I think her name was.
Yeah.
And all of us met this other gentleman named Dylan. And then hilarity ensued, we will say. So we're going to spend the last little bit of the show talking about Gryphcon, our experiences in the world of Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft. My name has been Mike the Birdman Ashby. That has been Damien Magical Hack Morphit. We will be back right here on Guelph Community Radio, CFRU 93.3. This has been the Spellbook. We'll be back, guys, right after this.
Hi, I'm Otis, and you are listening to CFRU 93.3 FM.
Welcome back to the Spellbook, right here on 93.3 CFRU Guelph Community Radio.
All right, guys, so we are talking about the event that happened this last weekend at the University of Guelph's campus at Peter Clark Hall. This is Gryphcon 2026, and this is me and Damien have a chance to play together under somebody new. Just before the break, I was saying, when you play with friends, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, you kind of know what each other's going to do. You have now played as a GM for me, in Battletech and Vampire. I have been a GM for you now for the first time under Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
You've GM'd for me a few times, but you and I have never been on the same side of the table under someone we never knew. So this was something I was originally going to run Aliens on Saturday night, but I didn't have any sign-ups. I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Let's throw caution to the wind, and let's try something new. And you had suggested, hey, Mike, why don't we try to play together? I'm like, all right, cool. It'll be good content for the show. Little did I know how much fun this would be and how weirdly chaotic this would get.
Yeah.
So please summarize the events of the Deadlights from Call of Cthulhu.
Okay, so we started off at Miskatonic University. Anybody who knows or who has read mythos literature will know what that is. Anybody who doesn't, it's a made-up university in a made-up city called Arkham, New England?
Yeah, Arkham, New England.
And it's where a good number of Lovecraftian stories start. We finish a convention there of some sort, amusingly enough. And we're driving back. Big rainstorm hits. We almost hit a lady on the road. Take her into the vehicle that we're all in. Go to a diner. And then people start dying. We make our way... Well, after, 3 more people bite it? Yeah. There's about 3 more people bite it while we're at the diner. We make our way to a cabin. It's a house out in the middle of the bush. And then we all start kind of breaking.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Call of Cthulhu, it's a game where breaking even is the best possible outcome. Not exactly heroic superhero fantasy.
No.
If you get into a fight, you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
And done something wrong you have. In this instance, as Damien was saying, we went to this diner. The roads had become almost impassable. We needed a place to hole up until the roads could be whatever. We were trapped in a location. And then people start dropping. And I love what one of our players did. One of our players in character, I gotta point this out, I'm pretty sure had suffered massive concussions. As he finds a severed hand. Now, short of making a hand puppet out of it, which is what I was waiting for.
Well, okay, so finds the severed hand is... It leaves a little bit out there.
Okay.
We did have interactions with the previous owner of said hand.
who really... he's like, I gotta find my wife. And
yeah, poor old guy.
Yeah, it didn't work too well for old man Ted. The hand puns. My God. This guy was right on the ball. He's like, well, yeah. He's like, look, guys, I'm handy.
I have this handy
and Laura
flashlight.
was like slapping her forehead, having just such a roll with this. Because it's weird. Laura in our games is, I love her. Because she is like she's like the dash of Chaos Goblin when I need it. If anything, she's reliable damage. And I love her for that. But in this, I would almost call her the group leader. Because she kind of took charge.
She was playing the straight, the like stereotypical straight guy, not as in orientation, but as in like the comedic routine.
Yeah. Whereas, I don't know. How would you classify my character as Hector, the junior reporter?
there was a little bit of, like, not an offensive amount of stereotype, just like that smattering of, okay, this is
my background.
Yeah.
Try to layer some in. Because you were playing a French lady from Montreal.
That kept slipping into a German accent.
I was a Puerto Rican gentleman who was living in New York who was a reporter. So I'm trying to layer in enough curse words from Spanish to just leave a little bit of authenticity to it. I don't do accents well, so I would try to stay away from it, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to have some fun with this. But my player was supposed to be super curious. And you and I kept trying to engage with one NPC who had the information what we were trying to dig out of them. Didn't go so well. And as we begin to close up the show here in the last couple of minutes here, so we went up to this cabin, and again, we discovered dead bodies. A ritual had gone horribly wrong, and then the sanity losses starting adding up quickly.
Yep.
So, in Call of Cthulhu, you can lose, if you lose 5 or more in one instance, you get a temporary insanity. Maybe you poop your pants, maybe you vomit, maybe you pass out. If you lose 20% of your current sanity total, in my case, my sanity was 70, I had to lose 14 points.
Yep.
And our DM kept rolling minor insanity things. And it's like, okay, you lose 1, you lose 3, you lose 4. We're under that 5 threshold every time. But the thing is, these rolls kept happening so often. And then you and I both went insane.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it was Laura's character of Grace had also gone insane too, but hers had manifested as catatonia. She broke from reality. You and I went more active. What happened with you?
Yeah, so I decided to go with obsession. This is at basically the climax of the adventure. So not to get like too inside baseball with it, we had to do a ritual. It required a sacrifice, and if it was completed successly, then
got rid of the scary monster.
Yeah, the scary monster went away, or rather was trapped again. I became obsessed, specifically with completing this ritual. And it was only a temporary thing. I'd only lost, I'd lost 5 at once. Mike, however, he had hit that 20% threshold and was indefinitely loco. And yeah.
I chose paranoia. So our friend Dylan, who was playing this boxer, had meant to knock out someone who was involved in this conspiracy. And by knockout, I don't mean knock the head off with a shovel. So, in Call of Cthulhu, you have to roll damage. Even if you intend to stun the person, you still have to roll. He rolled a crit. Max damage every single time. So, he okay, if you've ever seen the scene in Evil Dead 2 where Ash knocks the head off of Linda, yeah, that's what he did. Baseballed her into the next parking lot.
Okay, so knocking somebody's head off with a shovel, generally not funny. What's funny about this is, so before this had happened, we'd figured out, okay, so we have to do this ritual. We're thinking, okay, so it's the grandfather's fault. The granddaughter has to be the one that gets sacrificed, sins of the grandfather and all that. It turns out stuff had changed. We figured out exactly what was going on. And we're like, nah. This person who's basically at fault for all of it is going to be the sacrifice.
Yeah, and we all start looking around at each other, because typically this adventure could end up with which one of the players is going to sacrifice each other. We're like, nah, we're not doing that. In fact, a bunch of sacrifices just showed up.
Yeah. Look, we don't have to sacrifice ourselves. But yeah,
choice this morning.
Yeah. So Mary, the cause of all of this, ends up getting hit with a shovel.
Yep.
So, Dylan, the individual swinging said shovel, rather the player behind the character swinging the shovel, is like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna knock her out with this shovel.
Nope. Oh, you knocked her out, all right.
Yeah. So, previous to that, there was another KO that had happened.
Right, don't.
That very nearly ended in the original and actual final sacrifice dying.
Yeah, I took this poor woman to Suplex City. So after I am like, I'm going to do an unarmed combat, and I start rolling damage, and everyone at the table's like, no!
Though, I did notice, and I didn't bring it up at the table, you didn't actually have bonus damage.
Oh, thank
I looked
God.
at your sheet.
Yeah.
No, you ended up rolling the bonus damage die.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what that D4 was.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah, it could have ended up very badly.
Oh,
And then when my character had taken indefinite insanity, I chose paranoia. And for some reason, that turned me into John Wick because I couldn't miss a shot. I was like, boom, critical, boom, critical. I wasn't rolling crit damage. But baseball bat, Dylan, I shot him point blank in the chest. I'm like, get away from the body. This is mine. And it was just utter chaos. However,
took him out of the fight. Almost took me out of the fight. Thankfully, you only hit me in the shoulder.
Yeah, it got so crazy. And as the adventure ended, our keeper was like, well, you all lived, and that's a rarity. And it was just such a fun time. So guys, we have run out of time today here on the show. But again, we'd love to have people get involved in the show. If you're at Gryphcon, please let us know. Damien, if people wanted to get involved in the show, how would they go about doing that?
The best way is by emailing us at thespellbookshow@gmail.com. You can also find either one of us on probably Blue Sky would be the best.
Yeah.
We got myself as Magical Hack. Just search for me. And where can they find you?
Yeah, my name is typically Birdman Guelph on Blue Sky. On Instagram, I'm Birdman ODST. And we're going to try to get in touch with some people from Gryphcon. Definitely, I want to talk about that person with supremacy, and hopefully we'll get in touch with them in the near future. But big thanks to the staff and the university for putting on Gryphcon each and every year. This is something I look so forward to. So thank you for creating such a wonderful and accessible experience. Thank you for bringing together a gaming community each and every April at the University of Guelph. So anyway, for the Spellbook, we have been.
I am Damien, Magical Hack Morphet.
My name has been Mike the Birdman, saying, in these troubled times, be excellent to each other. Go out there, do something wonderful for someone you don't know. And we will catch you guys next time, right here on Guelph Community Radio, 93.3. This has been the Spellbook on CFRU.
It's not enough. We have a gallery of villains to look out for, but now we could be infiltrated by a shape changer. I can't even tell if any of you are acting strange because you've been replaced or because this group is full of weirdos.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Spellbook. If you happen to have any comments or suggestions, please send us an email at thespellbookshow@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're hungry for more, you can find Mike at thisweekingeek.net, covering a variety of nerdy topics, and Damien on YouTube at Magical Hack Makes for more TTRPG conversation.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.